Welcome to Avatar Live viewers. We are going to meet Mr. Mithun Sacheti, founder and CEO of CarrotLane. He comes from big family business called Jaipur Gems. He transformed the Jaipur Gems inventory into an e-commerce platform. Now CarrotLane is the India's largest e-commerce platform where minimum of 5 million visitors comes every month. Let's discuss with him how he made it possible.
When you're in your 20s, you look at the world from the top of a mountain. When you're in your 50s, you look at it from a cave. This is an opportunity which nobody is looking at, and maybe we can do something about it. So instead of 20 people walking into a shop, you'd have 2,000 people look at the small number of pieces. Aishwarya Rai today is on your billboard, tomorrow she'll be on somebody else's billboard, so that doesn't create desire as such. If you are the fifth entrant in a business, you must think 10 times before doing that part. There is just no reason to do it at all. Nazar, Khabar and Jigar. So you need all three of these things together to be able to do that part, and which is why I feel like as an entrepreneur that works well for me. Yeah, 5 million visitors per month we have now.
Hi Mithun. So thanks for accepting for this interview. Now I want to start with your legacy brand, Jaipur Gems. Okay, so can you tell about that, how your father started or your grandfather started? Or
Yeah, I mean, we can go as far back as possible. I'll start from where my father did, because he went to Bombay and he started from there. My father and my mother have worked really hard to build that business over there. Most jewelry at that time was trading jewelry. There were karigars, acharis, and then there were gold, and there were jewelers. So they will make and the jeweler will sell. My parents were very few of those people who would actually have a small workshop and they will make there itself and sell from there itself also. Today what's called design and manufacturing, they were doing back in the day itself also. And because they were doing that back in the day, that became the foundation of how this business was built. We first obviously built ourselves out of Bombay extensively. Then I moved to Chennai when I was about 21, 22 years old, and came to and built the store on Cathedral Road, and then so on and so forth. We grew that business from there as well also. So it's been a very nice and very fun journey as well doing that part, and tons of learning.
okay, after education you directly entered into the father business, or it was compulsion, or you decided that you want to be in this business?
No, I was very nervous. My mother is very talented in what she does. My brother was super talented in what he does as well also. So I was not sure whether I'm good enough for it. So my last 2 years of graduation, I was working with a diamond firm learning the trade over there. Then immediately after I finished, I went to California to study jewelry manufacturing and design. After that, I moved straight to Chennai to build a business over here. So really, I jumped into it, but sometimes it's like this, right? I was not qualified enough to do anything else also, and all my life I saw this. So I wanted to do this, but I was scared whether I'm going to be good enough or not.
Coming to CarrotLane, this now it's one of the India's, largest e-commerce platform for jewelry. And how this idea evolved? It's based on demand, or you got some idea, you wanted to implement that?
You know, it reminds me of a quote of Scott Fitzgerald, where he says, when you're in your 20s, you look at the world from the top of a mountain, and everything seems like an opportunity. When you're in your 50s, you look at it from a cave, and you want to control and take care of everything that you have so far created. So I was young and I was early in my, it was in my late 20s at that point, and I realized that this is an opportunity which nobody is looking at, and maybe we can do something about it. And it would be a very different take on the jewelry business as well also. Most jewelry businesses based on inventory, and you put inventory out there, people will come and see. This was a take saying that this is based on more people seeing the same inventory. So instead of 20 people walking into a shop, you'd have 2,000 people look at the small number of pieces. So that flip was what we were trying for. When you're young, you try many things, and this worked out for me. But if somebody asked me today, I know we were too early at that point to start off.
Yeah, this is very new idea, okay, like making people to buy the jewelry from online, okay, but always there will be people discouraging you with the old school of thoughts, like jewelry means the woman have to come to the shop, experience, touch and feel. How you got convinced yourself?
So no, you're 100% right. There were friends and family who didn't think it was a great idea, and but what was critical to understand is what am I listening to in what they're saying. the objections they were raising were valid objections. We had to solve for those objections for customers to be able to buy what we are trying to sell as well also. And so for a period of time, we were working on that to figure out how we're going to solve for that as well. And that's where our omni-channel came about as well. So we decided that we are going to go ahead with the omni-channel approach and do that. And in some ways, it also made us aware that we should be careful with the way we spend money and the way we expand and everything. So we kind of had a slow ride in the beginning and then really took off after that. And that's essentially it.
So how you felt when the first customer ordered the CaratLane ring or something? Yeah. What was the first product they ordered?
It was a solitaire. It was a very interesting transaction for a customer who was at that point in Japan, and he was trying to order for his mother in Delhi.
From Japan?
Yeah, from Japan. Because people abroad would find it easier to do it, the credit card limit, all that stuff was there. And we had to be manually involved in the payment processing, we had to be manually involved in the shipping of it. HDFC had a problem. They said that no, our limit is only so much. Above this, you give deposit, then I'll allow for to taking the money. What if it's a fraud because it's from abroad at that point? Blue Dart was like, no, we don't ship such high value. So what if something goes wrong? We will not insure it. So we had to go to insurance company to cover it. So lots of learning came by through that transaction, and I'll always be grateful for that one transaction for the amount of learning.
So how many months it took for you to reach the potential customers? Like what kind of marketing strategy you used in social media?
Actually, more than social media was digital, where we started out at that point. So Google was where we were focused more on. Facebook really started marketing much later. They were only building their traffic at that point. I don't know when we hit critical mass, must have been like 2011 approximately. It took us about 2.5 years for us to be able to do that. So that 2.5 years that we were spending time to hit critical mass, I think small spends were giving us a lot of return. We were trying to figure that out. The spends which are not giving us returns, we stopped doing those spends. So we were working on that model and doing that. It was more demand based, like people looking for buy jewelry, buy gold, buy diamond, like that. We chased those people at that point. When social media came by, then we started attracting people through our designs and making it visible to them, and then they started coming back for that.
Okay. So now 2020, how many visitors per day? What is your customer database like?
Yeah, so now we have about 50 lakh people per month. Okay, so that's the kind of number. Yeah, 5 million visitors per month we have now. And what's important is that this is just still the early days of the business as well also. And the kind of growth we are seeing, last 3 years we are growing at about 50% year on year. So very important that we sustain this over the next few years and see how it goes.
In e-commerce, the one main thing the people will be worried is like loyalty of the customer, the visitor. Okay, how you retain them? So what are the key important factors that to retain a e-commerce customer?
Actually, it's very interesting with jewelry. The traits are similar to the jewelry business more than the e-commerce business in loyalty. Because people, once they buy from one brand, like to buy again and again from the same brand as well also. So it takes longer to make a customer buy the first time, but once they buy, the ability to buy second time and third time is much easier as compared to, whereas if you have to buy a phone, what happens when you buy that from Amazon or Flipkart, the phone actually is a Samsung phone that you want to buy or an Apple phone that you want to buy. So when you're buying that phone, price becomes a determining factor because the websites don't really add that much value. After a point, service is a good service. They'll also deliver, Flipkart will also deliver, Amazon will also deliver. Okay. That doesn't so easily happen in jewelry business. Okay. So loyalty comes with a great experience the first time around, and that's something that we have to focus on.
Okay. You almost change the pattern or habit of buying the jewelry by introducing this e-commerce platform. Is it increasing the product sale, or is there any difference between retail sale and online platform sale?
No, for sure. I mean, you have to break the business into three parts. There's demand generation. And very, very difficult in the offline world to do demand generation, because it's just when you put a hoarding or when you put a TV ad, you can show 3 or 4 pieces. Okay. When you put up an online experience, you are able to showcase a lot more number of designs across to a customer. Ultimately, when you see design only, there will be desire. Aishwarya Rai today is on your billboard, tomorrow she'll be on somebody else's billboard, so that doesn't create desire as such like that. So I have always found that at the demand generation phase, the role of online is very, very high. After demand generation comes the next phase, which is the fulfillment phase. Over there, the customer, depending on his ability and his desire to fulfill from either an online channel or a try-at-home channel or from visiting a store and doing that. That might depend on his own ability, because that's a higher order purpose. It will take more time to move for more and more people to buying online, purely online. Some might want touch and feel. And so our job is to provide solutions for that.
You have now retail store also for CaratLane. Why is that? Like you already got into
We always had. See, because as I told you earlier, the early objections that our friends and family were having was that, this is the product which needs touch and feel as well. So you want people to discover the product online, and then after that, to make the buying decisions, they want to touch and feel the product, then the store plays a fantastic role in that. So we have about 92 stores now across India. Our first store came about in 2011. So we've been building this same path for a long time. At that point, the fancy word omni-channel was not there. Along the years, we learned it's called omni-channel as well also. But we've been building that, and kind of, I feel that that's the right model for the jewelry business to operate in India. Omni is the right way, and not a multi-channel way. It shouldn't be pure online or pure offline.
Okay. Mithun, you are also a startup investor. You invest and mentor a lot of startup companies. What are the few things you will say no to the startup entrepreneurs in e-commerce? Don't do this.
Yes, I invested in quite a few startups. About mentoring, I don't know. Today, when I look around, there are more mentors than mentees. So I'm not convinced about whether anybody needs a mentor. But when I look at a business, and a few things that I definitely would feel like one must not do is that if you are the fifth entrant in a business, you must think 10 times before doing that part. There is just no reason to do it at all. You must have a highly differentiated way of solving the same problem to do that. If you are going to be the guy who does not have the right team, but somebody else has a perfect team over there, you must go build that team and have the ability to build a team as well also. Very, very important. If you look at, and I'll give you one example, the difference between a CaratLane and a family jeweler is not the entrepreneur who's on top, it is the team who's behind him. Okay. The gap between me and the team that I have, as opposed to the gap between a retail store owner and the team that he has, is the difference between building a CaratLane and building a shop in Usman Road or T Nagar or Pushwakam or anywhere else for that matter. It does not have the same aspiration as such across the organization. So building a great team, very, very important. Having an idea which is differentiated is equally important, because there is no shortage. I'm going to jump one step ahead and tell you that I'm assuming that next thing you'd want to know is that what is the kind of business one must get into. And the right kind of business one must get into is where one sees a role of, and if I have to speak specifically to technology, is where technology has still not touched that industry sufficiently. Okay. Because technology in future is like marketing. For every product you have to market it. Similarly, for every product, technology has the role as well also.
So can you name few businesses which is untapped using technology?
So tons of B2B businesses are not even touched so far. And it's very, very important that marketplaces emerge in the B2B space as well also. There are very generic marketplaces coming. Industry specific verticals have still not come by as well. And I think there's a very big opportunity sitting over there as well. Then if you look at lower end, or let me say businesses which have low rate of change, or consumer businesses which have low rate of change, in those also technology has not touched. Jewelry is one industry like that. We are doing some work on that part. Some other people are also doing. But like jewelry, there are many other industries where enough people have not touched it with technology as well. And if you look around, you'll find tons such opportunities to go and do that. The opportunity you must actually stay away from is where somebody is already doing it, because that's I wouldn't even say that's an exciting opportunity. That's a Me Too opportunity.
Okay. Then. You come from a family business, a legacy of business. There is a brand, there is certain values. What are the key values you follow till now from your father or from your mentor, whatever, that you follow in your business?
Well, we're a business community, and so making sure that we are always invested is very, very important. So something that I learned in my family is that we must always, if there's an opportunity, we must be very, very careful about the opportunity. We must look at the opportunity. My granduncle told me one thing, which another one of those things, gems, you hear in family businesses, which I'll never forget. It was a Hindi saying, so I'm going to say it and then translate it. Nazar, khabar, and jigar. Nazar means keep your eyes open for any opportunities that you're seeing around you. Khabar means keep your ears open to know what is happening in and around the opportunity. And jigar means when the time is right, you must be able to go all in into that opportunity. Okay. When you have heard everything, when you've seen everything, that's the time to go all in into that opportunity. So just knowing about opportunity and not having the courage to do it doesn't work. Having the courage to do it but not knowing enough of the opportunity also does not work.
Okay.
So you need all three of these things together to be able to do that part, and which is why I feel like as an entrepreneur that works well for me.
What is next in CaratLane? What kind of revolution you want to do?
There is a lot to solve for still in the consumer's mind. We have possibly added a dimension of discovery for the customer. There's a lot of other ideas which are brewing up. How do we make this a product which is a product of scarcity to become a product of abundance? That is the task that we feel obsessed about right now. And in the long run, if we solve for that, I think we would have really changed consumer habits. And that's where we are focused on.
Thank you very much, Mithun. Thanks for your time and meeting Avatar Live. I wish you all the best.
Please do watch, share and like Avatar Live.